Alongside AEW star Sting and the TNT champion Darby Allin, the Great Muta wins his final match as the character in his final bye-bye event in Pro Wrestling Noah. Thunder Rosa announces her return to the road for All Elite Wrestling. We have the ratings for this week's edition of Dynamite. A positive update from the Pugh family after the tragic passing of Jay Briscoe earlier this week. AEW President Tony Khan has praised recent hire Michael Mansury, and a TNT title match announced for this week's edition of Dynamite. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling. And let's start off talking about a match that didn't actually take place in AEW, but featured several AEW stars, that being the Great Muta's final bye-bye event in Pro Wrestling Noah. As KG Muta's retirement tour enters its final stages, the wrestling legend has one final match as the Great Muta on Sunday, January 22nd at the Great Muta final bye-bye in Yokohama Arena. Muta teamed with his longtime rival Sting and TNT champion Darby Allin from AEW to take on Hakushi, Namichi, Marufuji, and Akira in the main event of the show. The babyfaces ultimately picked up the victory after Muta missed Hakushi, Sting caught him with a Scorpion Death Drop, and Darby Allin hit him with a Coffin Drop. Muta then pinned Hakushi following a second Shining Wizard. Following the match, the Great Muta grabbed Hakushi's grave marker and stabbed him with it before he wrote a message with Hakushi's blood on the marker, trapping the demon inside Hakushi forever. Yes. Doesn't get more Great Muta than that, does it? Much to Jensai Shinzaki's dismay. Muta, Darby Allin, and Sting then celebrated, with the show coming to an end after one final green mist from Muta and some pyro. Following today, KG Muta will have one more match at the KG Muta Grand Final Pro Wrestling Last Love holdout on February 21 inside the Tokyo Dome. Muta will face off against New Japan Pro Wrestling's Tetsuya Naito in his final match. But certainly the match went off without a hitch. It was great to see Sting, Darby Allin, and the Great Muta inside a Japanese pro wrestling ring for Pro Wrestling. You can see the picture right there. It's almost like, it's just cool, isn't it? I don't know what it is sometimes about like Japanese pro wrestling. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of it or have the hugest, most extensive knowledge of it. Just that picture's cool. And Sting being inside a Japanese pro wrestling ring for what's very, 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 very likely the last time. I mean, almost with some certainty you can say is the final time. Sting has mentioned, he's gone on record recently saying that his AEW contract is up this year and he's already planning out and mapping out his retirement. It is going to involve Darby Allin, and probably it's going to be quite similar to what the Great Muta, KG Muta, has done recently. It'll be some sort of a retirement tour, I would guess, within AEW. He'll face off against certain opponents. He said that he's not going to do any singles matches or anything like that. He doesn't feel physically he's capable of doing those kind of matches anymore, hence why he hasn't even wrestled a singles match since he returned to pro wrestling, since he signed with AEW. So we're going to see a lot of tag team matches, whether they'll be tag team title matches, whether they'll be involving against the likes of the Young Bucks or other tag teams, the Acclaimed. We'll have to wait and see. One thing's for sure though, that is a cool sight. That is a cool sight, that is a memorable sight, and the Great Muta, we've said bye-bye, and it's only one more match before we say goodbye to KG Muta. Now, let's talk about Thunder Rosa and AEW. Of course, a bit of a controversial figure in the last few months or so regarding her injury, forfeiting the AEW Women's World Championship, initially an interim World Championship. Discussions about the severity and legitimacy of her injury. Well, former AEW Women's World Champion Thunder Rosa has provided an update on when she'll be back on the road. Rosa hasn't performed inside of the ring since August. A back injury forced Rosa to take some time to heal, and she ultimately relinquished the AEW Women's World title. Rosa appeared on Busted Open Radio, and she revealed that while an in-ring return date is currently unknown, she expects to be on the road again in the near future, saying, quote, "Since we're talking about AEW, I'm probably going to be coming back on the road pretty soon," Rosa said. "Not to wrestle, but we're going to be out at AEW showing face and being around all this stuff. It's going to be very nice to see everyone and to see how things unfold." Now, the AEW Women's Division has shaken up quite a bit since Rosa last appeared on AEW programming. Of course, Saraya made her debut back in September, and while she was initially presented as a babyface, she has since aligned herself with Toni Storm, and the two apparently turned heel this past Wednesday on Dynamite, attacking Willow Nightingale. Rosa weighed in on the difficulty of being a natural babyface going from one wrestling company to another. Quote, "Being in the shoes that I was as a former NWA champion and coming in as NWA talent, you always are painted as somebody that doesn't belong there, and it is easier to go as a heel in that aspect," Rosa said. Rosa also said the opposite can be true. She said when you're a heel, but the fans view you as a babyface, it's a difficult change to make. So I would suspect and again, this is just speculation on my point, when she says she's going to be back on the road, Thunder Rosa has done Spanish broadcasting for AEW in the past, so it might just be a case of doing that, being back on the road, doing some Spanish commentary, some Spanish broadcasting. It might be that. Otherwise, I don't really see much of the purpose for her being behind the scenes, unless she's just there to play a role on television, even though she's not wrestling, even though that there are a lot of people that are cleared to wrestle that aren't on television at the moment because the spaces are just so few and far between. So I would think it probably has to do with something broadcasting. As far as for an in-ring return, I mean, it's curious because when initially she had to take some time away to recover from this back injury, the time frame we were given back in August was she'll be back around January, February time. Well, we're towards the end of January now. We're way past the half of the month. It's the 22nd of January today. All eyes are focused on, as I mentioned, towards the end of the month and into February now, and she's saying that an in-ring return feels unlikely. Now, you could argue it's just her saying, well, I'll be back on the road, and even in the back of her mind, she knows that she's quite close to returning. I don't know. With this whole Saraya, Tony Storm, maybe Hikaru Shida sort of heel team, I've seen some people speculating we might get a female blood and guts match, which would be fantastic, but they would need more bodies, one would think, and maybe that would involve Thunder Rosa. I don't know. But Thunder Rosa said she's going to be back on the road soon. If we get any more confirmation on when she'll return to the ring, of course, we'll let you know here on the channel. Let's talk about the ratings for this week's edition of Dynamite on TBS. And AEW Dynamite maintained its viewership course in comparison to last week, but the program does technically have an added feather in its cap this week. WrestleNomics shared viewership information for the January 18 episode, and it had a total average viewership of 969,000 viewers on TBS. That's basically the same as the week before, but technically it's Dynamite's highest viewership since October 26. However, from a key demographic perspective, Dynamite was down Wednesday night. The show had a 0.31 18 to 49 rating, which totals 402,000 average viewers aged 18 to 49. Dynamite ranked third in cable originals for Wednesday evening. The only two programs to beat it out on cable were the coverage of the two featured NBA games on ESPN, but Dynamite did top MTV's The Challenge. Now, in comparison to this time last year on year, which is very important, Wednesday's rating for Dynamite is down despite the show having its highest overall viewership in months. Last year's Dynamite had an average total viewership of 1.032 million viewers, 6% more than Wednesday's. The key demographic is down considerably, with the episode 1 year ago having a 0.44 18 to 49 rating, 30% more than Wednesday's show. And that's the key thing. This is when I say that the product isn't as hot as it was a year ago, 18 months ago. It's just factually, it is not. Dynamite was viewed in comparison to the old stuffy WWE with the Vince McMahon regime and the Vince McMahon era. That might be coming back, by the way. But in comparison, it was viewed as the alternative and certainly the younger product. The young people watched AEW. It had some of the better key demographic ratings and the younger audiences. And they used to always talk about that in comparison to NXT, right? NXT had this really old audience, and AEW Dynamite had more viewers and a younger audience, so it was more appealing to advertisers. And the viewership numbers are largely the same, a little bit down, but not a lot, nothing too much to worry about. It's the key demo that I think they would be concerned about. Why has that happened? Well, you would argue that maybe younger fans might be smarter pro wrestling fans. I don't know. Maybe that's not a fair assumption to make. I'm not sure, but certainly something they've done or things that have happened in the last 12 months has turned the viewership off. Or maybe it's just a case of because Triple H is in charge of the creative of WWE, people aren't feeling that they're as forced to watch AEW now because they just wanted to watch pro wrestling. I don't know. You let me know in the comment section below. Why has the audience got considerably older in the last year? Was everyone in that key demo 49 and now suddenly they're a year older, they're 50? I don't know. You can let me know your thoughts, your theories in the comment section below. Talk about Jay Briscoe, and this is some quite interesting news actually. One, in regards to Tony Khan's plans for the Briscoe brothers in 2023. Also, Nick Jackson has actually weighed in on how hard he and AEW tried to bring in the Briscoes to perform in the company. Of course, Warner Bros. Discovery put a block on that at every turn. And also, finally, a positive update from the Pugh family about Jay Briscoe's daughter after his tragic passing this week in that horrific car wreck. Now, the Briscoes may not have been able to find their way onto AEW programming at all in 2022. 2022, but plans were in place for the legendary Ring of Honor tag team to have a massive presence in 2023 with the brand that they've become synonymous with. Mark and Jay Briscoe just became the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions for the 13th time in December, and with an ROH television show slated to come as part of a revamped Honor Club, AEW President Tony Khan did have plans to make the Briscoes the cornerstones of the Ring of Honor tag team division. Sadly, of course, those ideas never had a chance to come to fruition, as Jay Briscoe was tragically killed in an auto accident earlier this week. Quote, "It sucks, it's really terrible," Khan told the Wrestling Observer newsletter. "A major focus for Ring of Honor in 2023 was going to be the Briscoes, and I still want to honor the life and career of Jay and the legacy of the Briscoes. Attempts were previously made to bring the Briscoes into AEW, but the company was ever able to get past those at Warner Media, who reportedly did not want the tag team on their airwaves due to some problematic tweets of Jay's past. Just last year, Khan originally wanted the Briscoes to be involved with All Out, teaming with Jay Lethal to face FTR and Wardlow, but the inability to promote that on television stifled those plans. Khan instead pivoted to the Motor City Machine Guns for that particular match, but this little-known fact further proves Khan's commitment to wanting big things for Mark and Jay. So again, it goes to show that it wasn't an AEW thing, it wasn't a Tony Khan thing, it was a Warner Media Discovery thing, which sucks. Now, as I mentioned, Nick Jackson has actually discussed with the Wrestling Observer newsletter the company's efforts to really get the Briscoe brothers on board and appear on television, saying, quote, "We always say they're the best tag team in the world that wasn't showcased to a national audience. We wanted to change that," said Jackson. "We tried recruiting them from day one to AEW, literally would beg on a weekly basis. Tony tried his hardest, and when he bought Ring of Honor, that was one of the first things he did was sign them to long-term contracts." It was previously reported that an influential Warner Media official was against AEW signing Mark and Jay Briscoe. This was due to Jay Briscoe using homophobic slurs on Twitter in 2013, tweets he would go on to apologize for on numerous occasions. However, it appears that Jay also made extra efforts to make amends for his insensitive behavior and seek forgiveness. According to Jackson, Briscoe took sensitivity training and seemed genuine about making changes. The AEW star revealed that he talked to lots of people about Briscoe's progress, with many of them describing the work he had put in positively. Quote, "I just wish he was given a better opportunity for forgiveness while he was still here with us," he added. "He was such a good human being." Following his death, LGBTQ plus performers such as Effie spoke highly of Briscoe, noting their experiences together were always respectful and uplifting. And again, it sucks. It's like, I mean, even the story this past week of Warner Media blocking a Jay Briscoe Celebration of Life special on Dynamite. It's ridiculous. I mean, that is ridiculous. And that story has been proven at this point. It's just, you know, look, people do make mistakes. There's no doubt about it. And I don't, of course I condemn those tweets that he made in 2013. But from what people are saying, and this is anecdotal, but what people are saying is that he made genuine attempts to change and learn. And if we're saying that you can only make one mistake and that's it, you can't learn and grow from that, then what are we doing here? And it's a massive shame. Now, to end this on a positive note, even though there's not a lot of positivity in this story, I understand that, there has been an update on Jay Briscoe's daughters in their recovery from the tragic car accident that took Briscoe's life. Tributes have been pouring in since Tuesday night when news first broke that Briscoe had passed away. The head-on collision saw Briscoe and the other driver pronounced dead on the scene. His daughters Gracie and Jaylee were also in the car, sustaining major injuries and taken to hospital in a critical situation and critical condition. Gracie suffered several severe injuries, including to her back, as she lost feeling to her lower body. Jaylee also sustained multiple injuries, including compound fractures in her legs and a severe back and neck injury. In an update posted to Facebook Live by a family friend, Joshua Wharton, it is now said that Gracie has regained feeling in her lower extremities after not feeling below the thighs the day before. She also made small movements in her lower extremities on Friday, getting in and out of bed in a wheelchair several times. Jaylee will be getting her first feeding tube removed on Saturday so she can start eating regular food again. She was fitted for a back brace on Friday and could get into a wheelchair for an hour in her recovery. The girls were visited by their brother Gannon, Uncle Mark Briscoe, and grandfather Briscoe on Friday. Jay Briscoe, as I mentioned, was active on Ring of Honor for over 20 years, and as I mentioned, there is no real positivity in this story, but the fact that his daughter's getting feeling in the legs. Moving the legs is a massive positive, and as always, as we have for the last few videos, a link will be in the video description so you can donate to the Pugh family to help them with these medical expenses, funeral expenses, etc. This is a terrible time for the family, and if we can help just by sharing, you don't even have to donate, just sharing, sharing the link or giving it to someone that could donate is a massive help for the family. Now, Tony Khan, of course, made a big hire towards the end of last year. That was Michael Mansury. Now, he sent shockwaves through the wrestling industry, Khan, with his backstage hire of former WWE Vice President of Global Television Production, Michael Mansury. Now serving as AEW Senior Vice President and Executive Producer, it hasn't taken long for Mansury to settle in. At the end of the day, he's another guy Khan can look to for improvements across the board, but especially when it comes to production and presentation. From the look of those things, that's where he'll be most crucial going forward. Just in time too, it seems, as AEW has recently revamped their set. Meanwhile, AEW's president couldn't be happier with the hire, saying, quote, "Mike comes in with a ton of TV experience in production," Khan said on In the Click. And while Mansury came aboard after most of AEW's new look set had already been designed, Khan believes he's taken to it quickly and that he'll be a crucial part of everything production-wise that AEW has to offer. Now, a lot of that set and those elements had already been designed, he continued, but as far as integrating the new sets, Mike's been essential. But it's his experience in the industry as a whole that truly stands out, particularly with shooting the wrestlers, as when it comes to his programming, Khan values the wrestling matches more than anything else. For his money, there's nobody better they could have found. Quote, "Mike's going to help us run a first-class production every week," he added. "Mike has so much experience shooting the best wrestlers, and frankly, I think Mike has probably more insight and experience in different facets of the production than anybody else you could have hoped to bring in." So certainly a lot of praise there from Tony Khan. As to Mansury's real stamp on the product, it's going to take a lot of time, I think, to really see that in comparison, but we'll have to wait and see what he does. Finally, a TNT Championship match has been announced for this week's edition of Dynamite on TBS. Well, next week's, it's still Sunday. During Friday night's episode of AEW Rampage, 3 matches were made official for this Wednesday's episode of Dynamite. For the TNT title, champion Darby Allin will defend his bout against House of Black member Buddy Matthews. Allin feuded with the group previously and personally issued the challenge to Matthews during a promo package Friday. A three-women's battle has also been announced between Dr. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, and Toni Storm. Storm, along with Saraya, turned heel on Wednesday by attacking Willow Nightingale and Soho making the save. Also added as a tag team bout, pitting Jungle Boy and Jungle Hook, against Ethan Page and Matt Hardy. Jungle Boy defeated Page on Friday's card following both a failed attempt by Page to use an unwitting Hardy as leverage and an entrance distraction from Hook. And Irite Page issued the challenge for Wednesday, so that's what we've got. In addition to that, of course, we've got Ricky Starks and Action Andretti versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, Bryan Danielson versus Brian Cage, and also a family therapy session with the Acclaimed and the Gun Club. So there you go, guys. It's the latest AEW news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on today's AEW news stories in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.